The conference room door felt heavier than it should have. I pushed it open in my only decent suit, the one I'd worn to graduate school interviews 4 years ago. My parents sat in the front row, my sister beside them, all three dressed in clothes that cost more than my monthly rent. Mom spotted me first. She leaned toward Dad and whispered something. He shook his head dismissively, like my presence was an inconvenience, like I was wasting their precious time by showing up to defend what was rightfully mine. Their attorney organized papers with practiced confidence, the kind that comes with a $700 hourly rate. The judge hadn't arrived yet. Did they honestly believe I'd just surrender? That I'd walk in, apologize, and sign away everything Nana left me? I placed my briefcase on the defendant's table. 4 folders inside, each one color-coded and meticulously organized. They had absolutely no idea what those folders contained. Before we continue, drop a comment. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Hit like if you've ever been underestimated by people who should have believed in you. And subscribe because this story takes turns you won't see coming. The bailiff stood. All rise. The judge entered the courtroom, and I was prepared. To understand how we reached this moment, you need to know where it all began. I was never the chosen one in my family. My sister Violet was the golden child. Brand new convertible for her 17th birthday. Private university fully funded. Down payment on her first luxury apartment when she graduated. Whatever she desired, Mom and Dad opened their checkbook without hesitation. Me. I worked overnight shifts at a warehouse distribution center to afford community college tuition. Transferred to a public university on student loans. Lived in a studio apartment above a laundromat with a broken heater and cockroaches in the cabinets. I wasn't resentful. I simply learned early that I was navigating life without their safety net. But Nana saw me. She was the one who attended my associate degree graduation when my parents couldn't find time in their schedule. The one who met me for brunch every other weekend and genuinely asked about my courses, my goals, my dreams. You're the one who's going to build something meaningful, she told me once. Your sister has charisma. You have determination. Determination outlasts everything else. She was also the one who taught me to document everything. Save it all, she'd say. Every contract, every receipt, every email exchange. You never know when you'll need evidence. I thought she was just cautious from her generation. I didn't realize she was preparing me for war. When Nana passed away, the estate attorney read her will aloud. My sister received the lake house property. Mom and Dad inherited the stock portfolio. I received the education trust fund. It didn't sound particularly impressive until the attorney explained that Nana had established it 23 years earlier, and it had been growing with compound interest ever since. My portion was worth more than the lake house and the stocks combined. $1.4 million. Mom's complexion turned paper white. That's when everything shifted. 3 weeks later, Mom called. We need to have a family discussion. Come to the house on Sunday. I should have recognized the trap. When I arrived, they were waiting like an intervention team. Mom, Dad, my sister Violet, and a man in an expensive navy suit I'd never seen before. This is Kenneth, Mom announced. Our family attorney. I took a seat at the dining table. The atmosphere felt suffocating. Kenneth slid a bound document across the polished wood surface. We've prepared a family asset management agreement for everyone's protection and benefit. I scanned the opening page carefully. It stated that I would transfer my inheritance into a centralized family investment account. They would oversee it, manage it responsibly, and provide me with a controlled monthly stipend. $3,000 per month. From my own inheritance. You've never handled significant finances, sweetheart, Mom said, her voice dripping with false concern. We're trying to safeguard your future. Safeguard me. You're young and inexperienced, Dad added. This amount of money could destroy your life if you're not careful with it. My sister leaned forward earnestly. Don't be selfish about this. This is about preserving Nana's legacy as a united family. I studied the document again, then looked directly at Kenneth. And if I refuse to sign? Dad's expression hardened instantly. Every trace of warmth vanished. Then we'll handle this through proper legal channels, he said coldly. Kenneth cleared his throat professionally. We can petition the probate court for intervention. A conservatorship arrangement if circumstances require it. It would be unfortunate, costly and quite embarrassing for you publicly. He let that final word linger deliberately. Embarrassing. You have 96 hours to make your decision, Kenneth stated. I stood up calmly and picked up the unsigned agreement. I've already decided. I walked out without looking back. I had 96 hours before they'd file their petition. I didn't waste a single moment. 72 hours later, someone knocked on my apartment door. A process server handed me a manila envelope. My hands trembled slightly as I signed the delivery confirmation. Inside was a legal petition. 18 pages of allegations and claims. They were asking the court to declare me mentally and financially incompetent, to appoint my mother as permanent conservator of my assets for my own protection and well-being. The accusations were devastating. Reckless financial behavior, impaired judgment, inability to manage complex monetary matters, documented instability. All lies. Complete fabrications. But they were notarized, officially filed, and part of the public record. The court hearing was scheduled for 4 weeks out. My phone rang that same afternoon. My supervisor at the marketing firm where I worked. Can you come in immediately? We need to discuss something. I sat across from her in the glass-walled office while she slid a printed document toward me. A background check report. My name, the conservatorship petition, all the allegations. Is there something happening in your personal life we should be aware of? She asked carefully. It's a family dispute. None of the allegations are true. She looked genuinely uncomfortable. We're going to need to place you on temporary administrative leave until this situation is legally resolved. It's company policy for situations like this. I walked out of that building in complete shock. My career suddenly suspended because of my family's lies. My closest friend called that evening after hearing the news through mutual connections. Just give them half of it, she urged. Fighting this isn't worth the emotional toll. You'd still have $700,000. That's more money than most people see in their entire lifetime. I considered her advice seriously that night. Maybe she was right. Maybe surrendering would be easier than fighting people who were supposed to love me. But then I opened the leather portfolio. Nana's portfolio. The one she'd given me 6 years ago with explicit instructions to keep it safe. I turned to page 15, and my hands began shaking for an entirely different reason. Page 15, section 9, subsection F. I read it 3 times consecutively to confirm I wasn't misinterpreting the legal language. Any beneficiary who initiates or participates in legal proceedings designed to deprive another beneficiary of their designated inheritance shall immediately and irrevocably forfeit their entire interest in this trust and estate. A forfeiture clause. Ironclad and legally binding. And in the margin, written in Nana's distinctive handwriting with her favorite purple pen, neat and deliberate. Keep this protected, sweetheart. Trust people, but always verify their intentions. She knew. Somehow, she had known this exact scenario might unfold. I immediately called Marcus. We'd studied together during undergrad, formed a study partnership that got us both through brutal exam seasons. He'd just been admitted to the state bar 4 months ago. Marcus, I need you to review something tonight. It's urgent. He drove over within the hour. Read the clause carefully. Read it again with widening eyes. This is completely enforceable, he said slowly. If they're pursuing legal action to seize your inheritance, and this forfeiture clause is valid and properly executed, they lose everything. The lake house, the stock portfolio, all of it reverts according to the secondary distribution terms. Are you absolutely certain about the enforceability? I'm certain. But understand, this is the nuclear option. There's no going back after you invoke this. I drafted a formal legal notice that night. Sent it via certified mail with signature confirmation required. Copies to my parents, my sister Violet, and Kenneth their attorney. The notice contained 1 page, Section 9, subsection F, highlighted in yellow, accompanied by a brief statement. You have 72 hours to withdraw your petition. If you proceed with this legal action, the forfeiture clause will be enforced immediately. You will lose everything Nana left you. I sent it at 6:15 in the morning from the downtown post office. The deadline came and went. They didn't withdraw anything. Instead, they escalated dramatically. Kenneth filed an amended petition. This version was significantly worse. Now they were alleging undue influence, claiming that Nana wasn't mentally competent when she established the trust structure, that I had manipulated and deceived her during her final years. They attached a sworn affidavit from a physician who'd seen Nana exactly once, 5 years before her death, for a routine annual physical examination. The affidavit claimed Nana had exhibited signs of confusion and memory impairment during that single appointment. It was a complete fabrication, but it was notarized and submitted under oath. Then my sister posted on social media a photograph of Nana smiling during a family gathering from 12 years ago, surrounded by everyone, looking happy and vibrant. The caption read, "Protecting her true wishes and legacy from those who would manipulate and distort them for personal gain. Family bonds are eternal." The comments flooded in immediately. People I'd attended high school with, distant cousins, friends of friends, co-workers from past jobs. She always seemed off somehow. Money reveals people's true character. Sending prayers for your family during this difficult time. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications. I finally turned it off completely. 3 days later, HR called again. We're extending your administrative leave indefinitely, pending complete resolution of the legal proceedings. For how long exactly? Until the court case is fully concluded and resolved. The hearing was 1 week away. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. Every time I opened any social media platform, there was another post, another comment, another person who believed their lies. I sat at my small kitchen table at 3 in the morning, staring at Nana's portfolio, examining every document with exhausted eyes. If they wanted to fight dirty, I had ammunition they didn't know existed. Something that would end this war decisively. I opened their submitted trust amendment and compared it meticulously to my original documentation. The dates didn't align. The notary seals were different. The formatting was inconsistent. I laid both documents side by side under my desk lamp, studying every detail. The amendment my parents had submitted to the court claimed Nana wanted all assets consolidated for unified family management and oversight. Dated November 2020. My original trust document, properly signed and notarized, contained no such amendment or modification. But what caught my attention most were the notary seals. Different notaries entirely. Different embossing patterns. Different certification numbers. I found the original notary's contact information in Nana's meticulously organized records. Called him the next morning. He was retired now, living in Florida, enjoying his golden years. I maintain digital copies of every document I ever notarized during my 40-year career, he told me. Professional habit. Send me the document identification number. I did immediately. He called back within 2 hours. I never notarized that document. That's not my seal or my signature. Someone has forged my credentials. He emailed a sworn affidavit that same afternoon, notarized by his current local notary. Then I paid $400 to hire a certified forensic document examiner. The comprehensive analysis report arrived in 6 business days. The signature on the disputed amendment had been digitally traced and reproduced. The paper stock had been manufactured in 2023, 3 years after the document's alleged signing date. The ink composition was inconsistent with documents from that time period. It was definitively a forgery. My family hadn't just attempted to steal my inheritance. They had committed deliberate, premeditated fraud. They had forged legal documents and submitted them to a court under oath. I sat alone in my quiet apartment, holding that forensic report, and suddenly everything became clear. This was never about family harmony or protecting me. This was pure desperation. And I needed to understand why they were this desperate. I started investigating. Public records are surprisingly accessible when you know where to look and what to search for. My sister Violet's consulting business, the one Mom and Dad had been so proud of, the one they'd celebrated at every family gathering. I searched the business registry database. Dissolved 8 months ago. Multiple lawsuits for unpaid contracts. A default judgment for $420,000. Then I searched my parents' home address. Public foreclosure notice filed with the county. $615,000 owed to the mortgage company. 120 days to pay in full or the bank seizes the property. I pulled Dad's investment portfolio. He'd mentioned the account name once during a holiday dinner years ago. Publicly traded enough that I could track its status through financial databases. Liquidated completely. Margin call. Portfolio wiped out entirely. I checked Mom's LinkedIn profile for recent activity. She'd been actively liking and sharing posts about debt consolidation services, retirement planning strategies for people over 65, and financial crisis management. The mathematics were brutally simple. Violet's business failure and legal judgments. $420,000. The foreclosure amount due. $615,000. Their combined trust inheritance shares. $890,000. My inheritance. $1.4 million. They weren't malicious or evil people. They were drowning financially, suffocating under debt they couldn't escape. And they convinced themselves that pulling me under would somehow save them from going down. I closed my laptop slowly. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and it wasn't what they expected at all. I didn't just want to defend myself anymore. I wanted to end this completely, permanently, and decisively. I drafted a comprehensive counterpetition, breach of fiduciary duty, fraudulent misrepresentation, intentional document forgery, and enforcement of the forfeiture clause under Section 9, subsection F. Then I filed an emergency motion to freeze all trust disbursements immediately, pending the court hearing and investigation. I worked through the entire night, triple-checking every legal citation, every piece of evidence, every exhibit, every single word. At 12:17 a.m., I submitted everything electronically through the court's filing system. The confirmation email arrived moments later, with my case number and filing status. Attorney of record, my full name, followed by 3 letters that changed everything. Esquire. I had passed the bar examination 7 months earlier. Evening program, part-time enrollment while working full-time. It had taken me 5 years of night classes, weekend study sessions, and countless sacrifices. I hadn't told anyone. Not my parents, not my sister, not even my closest friends. I'd kept it completely private because I didn't want questions, didn't want attention, didn't want them to know. But now it mattered more than anything. I printed my official bar admission certificate, had it professionally framed, and hung it on my apartment wall. Nana would have been incredibly proud. The night before the hearing, I didn't even attempt to sleep. I didn't need to. I reviewed every argument, every piece of evidence, every possible question the judge might ask, every counterargument Kenneth might raise. I packed my briefcase methodically. 4 folders, color-coded tabs, chronologically organized. When my alarm sounded at 5 a.m., I was already dressed in my suit. I looked at my reflection in the bathroom mirror and whispered, "This is for you, Nana." I drove to the courthouse through empty morning streets. The conference room door felt heavier than it should have. I pushed it open. Mom, Dad, Violet, Kenneth, all of them sitting in the front row, dressed expensively, looking confident. Mom spotted me first and leaned toward Dad. He shook his head dismissively. Violet smirked at me with undisguised contempt. I set my briefcase down carefully and removed the 4 folders. The bailiff stood. All rise. The judge entered. An older woman with sharp, intelligent eyes and an air of no-nonsense authority. She sat, reviewed her documents briefly, then looked up. This is a conservatorship petition filed by Margaret and Thomas Harrison. The respondent is their daughter, Jordan Harrison. I see we also have a counter-petition filed by... She paused, looking directly at me. Miss Harrison, are you represented by legal counsel, or are you appearing pro se? I stood confidently. Your Honor, I am counsel of record. I was admitted to the State Bar in February of this year. Complete silence filled the courtroom. Kenneth's face drained of all color. My mother's mouth fell open in shock. My sister stopped smirking entirely. Dad looked like he'd been physically struck. The judge nodded approvingly. Please proceed, Counselor. I opened the first folder deliberately. Your Honor, I'd like to present 4 exhibits for the court's consideration. First, Section 9, subsection F of the trust document, the forfeiture clause. I handed copies to the clerk, who passed them to the judge. This clause explicitly and unambiguously states that any beneficiary who initiates legal proceedings to deprive another beneficiary of their designated inheritance immediately forfeits their entire share of the estate. The judge read it carefully, then looked at Kenneth. Counselor, were you aware of this provision when you filed the original petition? Kenneth stammered visibly. Your Honor, we were focused on our client's legitimate concerns regarding... Were you aware of this specific clause? The judge interrupted firmly. We were made aware subsequently. Yes. I opened the second folder. Second exhibit, Your Honor. The trust amendment submitted by the petitioners, claiming my grandmother wanted unified asset management. I placed it on the document projector for everyone to see. Third exhibit, a sworn affidavit from the original notary and a certified forensic document analysis. I laid them side by side on the projection screen. The submitted amendment is a complete forgery. Different notary whose credentials were used fraudulently. Digitally traced signature. Paper stock manufactured 3 years after the alleged signing date. The forensic evidence is definitive and irrefutable. The judge leaned forward with intense focus, studying the documents carefully. I handed her the complete forensic report. She read it slowly, methodically, page by page. Then she looked directly at my parents with an expression of deep disapproval. Do the petitioners have any explanation for submitting a forged document to this court? Complete silence. No one spoke. No one moved. Kenneth stood shakily. Your Honor, we would like to request a continuance to... Denied. Do your clients have an explanation for this? More suffocating silence. The judge set the forensic report down deliberately. I am dismissing the conservatorship petition with prejudice, effective immediately. The forfeiture clause is legally enforceable and will be enforced according to the trust's explicit terms. The petitioners will forfeit their entire inheritance shares under Section 9, subsection F. She paused, letting that sink in completely. I am also imposing sanctions in the amount of $25,000 for knowingly filing fraudulent documentation with this court. This case will be formally referred to the District Attorney's Office for potential criminal investigation. The gavel came down with finality. I packed my briefcase methodically. I didn't look back at them. I didn't need to. The forfeiture clause was officially enforced 45 days later. My parents lost the stock portfolio completely. My sister lost the lake house property. The assets were redistributed according to the secondary beneficiary designation Nana had written into the trust with characteristic foresight, a scholarship foundation for first-generation college students in our county who were working their way through school. Nana had planned for this exact scenario. Even if they contested, even if they fought, even if they destroyed our family, the money would still accomplish something meaningful and good. My sister filed for bankruptcy 3 months later. She's working retail management now at a department store 2 towns over. My parents sold their house quickly before the bank could complete foreclosure proceedings. They moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a less expensive area. The district attorney's office reviewed the case thoroughly. They ultimately declined to file criminal charges. My parents agreed to repay all court costs and legal fees, and Kenneth's prestigious law firm quietly terminated their representation with no public statement. No criminal record. Just permanent consequences. I took $500,000 from my inheritance and established a scholarship fund in Nana's name. The first awards ceremony was last autumn. 8 students received funding, all of them working overnight shifts just like I had, fighting for their education despite every obstacle. I used the remaining funds to eliminate my student loan debt completely. Bought a small but comfortable townhouse. Started my own solo legal practice specializing in estate disputes and elder law, helping families navigate these exact situations. I established firm boundaries with my family. Minimal contact, supervised interactions only when absolutely necessary. No holidays together. No spontaneous visits. No pretending everything was fine. Mom sent an email 7 months later. I'm sorry things became so complicated and difficult. I hope you're doing well and finding peace. No real accountability. No genuine apology for what they'd done. Just vague regret about complications. I wrote back briefly, "Thank you. I wish you well." That was the extent of our communication. Dad hasn't spoken to me directly since the hearing. I don't believe he ever will. And I've made complete peace with that reality. Some people never admit they were wrong. That's their burden to carry through life. Not mine. My sister reached out once, asking if we could meet for coffee and talk. I declined. No. Maybe someday in the future, but not now. Not until I'm genuinely ready and healed. I see Nana's photograph on my desk every morning when I start work. The same one from that family gathering, the same image Violet had posted online trying to manipulate public opinion. But when I look at it now, I don't see the courtroom battle. I don't see the betrayal or the forged documents. I see the woman who believed in me when absolutely no one else did. The woman who taught me that love without genuine respect is just control wearing an elaborate disguise. I kept the receipts, just like she taught me. I documented everything. And I won. Not because I wanted revenge or to hurt them, but because I wanted my life back. Because I deserved the inheritance she'd carefully planned for me. Because standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. So here's my question for you. What would you have done in my situation? Forgiven them completely and let everything go? Or maintained firm boundaries like I did, protecting yourself while moving forward? Drop your honest answer in the comments below. I genuinely read them all. If this story made you think, made you feel something, hit that subscribe button. There are many more stories like this coming, and you won't want to miss them. And remember this always. Keep your receipts. Document everything. Protect yourself. One final important note. This is a fictionalized dramatization based on real experiences and situations. It is not legal or financial advice. If you're dealing with something similar in your own life, please consult with a licensed attorney or financial professional in your area who can provide guidance specific to your circumstances. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.